do this, but in the book you have the story about Steven Seagal on the set with the MMA master pooping his pants. I was wondering if you could just give me a little top line of the story, if you could.
A little what?
Could you just give me just a small little recap for the Deadspin audience?
Oh, jeez. This is a story with this is a guy, Judo Gene LeBell, legendary. It used to be a fighter, sort of legendary stuntman who, I don't know. Did I put this in the? I mean, I haven't read this book, and
it was a footnote in the book. Would you like me to read?
Yeah, right. Did I have the one where you left a message and basically said, if you call me before noon, I'm going to burn your house down. But if you call after noon, I'd be happy to get back to you.
I have the LeBell. This is in one of the footnotes. This is on the set of Out for Justice.
Yeah, right. Oh, the Segal story, right.
Segal
I was just sort of setting the scene. This guy's 75 years old, and his voicemail is, if you call me before noon, I'm going to burn your house down. So this guy's on the set with Segal on Out for Justice.
Yes.
And
Steven Seagal is
Out for Justice.
Yeah.
So apparently a legendary. This was before the dead fish. Seagal's got a guy's got a reputation.
What's the dead fish?
But they said to with the LA Times, wasn't he? Seagal implicated in that whole wiretapping
thing.
Yeah, Pelicanos, right? But oddly, wasn't John Lovett somehow tied to that?
Yeah, and there's a bunch of weird, like John McTiernan, the dude from the guy who directed Die Hard, was massively implicated. It's very fucking weird, like web.
Like a bad Hollywood Squares board.
It is. It's like a bad Tom Arnold movie.
It's redundant. So they're on the set of this movie, and Seagal's a tough guy, and they said, "Hey, you see that old guy out of there? He used to be an old judoist, Judo Gene LeBell. He can choke you out in 10 seconds." So I don't know. You got it in front of you, right? You want to just read it?
I do have it in front of me, and you render it in just such lovely prose. I like it. I've been around since The Last Supper, LeBell responded to Seagal. I'm so old, my first movie was Birth of a Nation. But could I choke you out? Yeah. And with that, he grabbed Seagal, threw him to the ground, and choked him out. When Seagal came to, he cursed LeBell and told him he hadn't fought fair. Are you ready now, LeBell said calmly. Seagal nodded. And as he had just done, LeBell again lunged for Seagal, pinned him to the ground, and put him to sleep in a rear naked choke. According to one version of the story, while unconscious, Seagal lost control of his bowels, having had quite literally the shit beaten out of him. That's just a great story. I really do. I really appreciate you putting that.
You like that?
It's a footnote in the story, but and yet it gives the book that little extra dash, like a nice little bit of parsley on top of a salad. It's a great little garnish.
Stories like that make the parents proud.
I agree. What did you think this week of? Did you think that the sport had issues this week? I think the wrestler who had no arms and no legs doing the sort of the barnyard match. I think it was Kyle Gardner. That was his name.
Well, this is another issue that the sport has, that the mainstream media doesn't draw the distinction between UFC, which is sort of the NFL of mixed martial arts,
right?
And these sort of renegade organizations.
It's not the point where people have that sort of UFC brand. It's a brand apart from MMA. It's all MMA and UFC. I think people just confuse the two.
Yeah, and I think they're really going to get bitten, when, God forbid there's a fatality.
Right.
In doing this book, you go to a UFC show. It's like going to a high level. By these guys are well conditioned. They've made weight. There've been medical tests. These are NCAA wrestlers and black belts. But I went to some amateur shows that were just I mean, you and I could have taken off our shirt and shoes and scribble our name on a waiver. One of the waivers was literally like, I recognize that I could get my ass beat. Sign here. And, these shows are popping up. I mean, they're at strip clubs, and they're, slow night at the bar Tuesday, let's have amateur mixed martial arts night. And, honestly, someone's going to get killed at one of these. And I think that could really hurt the sport, because, again, there's a world of difference between that and, the UFC pay-per-view you're buying. But I don't know if people who are writing editorials the next day are going to make that distinction.
Yeah, I want to ask you about those strip club shows. Because they have, it was especially, you covered the ones in Iowa where It was a titty bar, but then they had amateur MMA cards. So if you paid $15, you got to go into the club, but then you also got to see the fight, and it was BYOB, which strikes me as pretty much the greatest bargain in history.
Yeah, but I also like the moral comfort. You know, we got no problem with rank amateurs fighting in a cage, but gosh darn it, we're not serving alcohol.
Yeah, but I mean, it's almost better that if you can bring your own. Can you bring it in the club?
Yeah. And guys would bring in these tubs, and they would also, weirdly enough, serve like these skewers, like street vendors, these skewers of meat. So yeah, seriously, for a tub and $16, you can get admission, get to gnaw on a piece of meat, and drink your beer.
It's almost like medieval times. You
yeah,
exactly. Gobble it too.
Like Janine Garofalo, the waitress.
No, it's great because then you don't have to pay strip club drink prices, which are always just god awful. I wouldn't ever want to do that. Was there anything memorable when you saw some of the matches there? Like, are they dancing? Are they dancing during the fight as well? Like, or do the strippers get like a little break?
No. Every this was a break. Actually, I was only there for the fight, but I will have you know that one of the when the band Lamb of God came in during one of the fights, so everybody had to stop and acknowledge the heavy metal band that had done their show and now was in the house. But some of these guys actually knew what they were doing, which I thought was interesting. I mean, people watch professional wrestling, but I don't think too many kids are, going in the, really refining their suplexes or whatever. Guys actually had some moves here.